republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. As winter graces our halls, may warmth radiate through our every heart. Bless our students with curiosity, teachers with wisdom, and all with patience. In the chill, nurture resilient spirits, embracing challenges as opportunities for growth. Let kindness be our guiding light, shaping character and compassion. May our schools stand as bastions of character, fostering understanding and unity. In this season and beyond, may we build character as we educate minds. Amen.
Here. Robin Riley.
Here.
Deanna Rowland for Nancy Zimmershed here.
Start off with item number 2 is the presentation and recognition of the board members in appreciation of their years of service to the children of Ponca City.
All right. Let's see if this works. It doesn't. Okay. Oh, this is on. Probably not on. I'll use this thing. This is a special month. This is our National School Board Appreciation Month, and I'd like to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to our dedicated members of our Board of Education. I think it's very important to note that our community is very fortunate to have a group of individuals, so thank you, that are committed to the betterment of our educational system, and their tireless efforts at our Board of Education plays a pivotal role in shaping the future of our schools and ensuring a high standard of education for all students. During this special month dedicated to recognizing the invaluable contribution of school boards nationwide, I'd like to acknowledge the passion and commitment and unwavering dedication that our own Ponca City Board of Education consistently demonstrates. Their leadership, guidance, and decision-making have a profound impact on the success of our schools and the overall well-being of our students. I'd also like to take a moment to encourage our community members to take a moment to reflect on the crucial role that school boards play in our educational system. It's through their collaborative efforts, their foresight, their strategic planning that we are able to provide a nurturing and conducive environment for our students. Our public may not realize that our board members get no compensatory pay for their volunteerism. Their only pay is the enjoyment of getting to see my smiling face each day, week, or in every late night phone call. But on a serious note, our Board of Education is a very selfless board. They provide countless hours of hard work. They're steadfastly committed to our educational system and the excellence that we strive for. Their dedication goes unnoticed by several, but not us. We are truly grateful for the positive impact you have on our community. And if you would, for just a moment, entertain me as I recognize each board member and their longevity and what they've done for our school board. And so there's a lot of power when you hold the microphone, and I get to have an opportunity to talk about each one of our board members, and I promise I'll be kind, I hope, most of it. The first one I want to recognize is from Ward 1, Mr. Robin Riley. He's served since 2012. He's a retired Conoco employee. He serves on the BOE Finance and Property Committees, has been the president of the board 3 different times. 3 different times. Robin's a POHI grad in 1977. Oh, there's a 6 first before the 7? 1967. And is very visible at many Wildcat events. He spends many hours reading, discussing, and reviewing the ever-changing educational landscape across our state and nation, and ensures that I'm very well informed as well. And Robin can be counted on to do his homework as a board member. He asks the most engaging questions and pushes our administrators and myself to continually grow and improve. Thank you, Robin, for your service. From Ward 2, Miss Nancy Zimmershed has served since 2017. In her second term now, Nancy is a former POHI grad and a mother of a current POHI Wildcat senior, Alex. Nancy serves on the BOE Curriculum Committee, where she helps guide the future instruction of our school district. Nancy is employed with Jupiter Sulphur in Ponca City, and I truly appreciate the parent perspective Nancy brings to our discussions. From booster clubs, extracurriculars, fundraising, activities, instruction, and staffing, you can count on Nancy for helping ensure our district is as equitable as possible, and we appreciate that, Nancy. Thank you. And no applause for you, I guess. From Ward 3, Miss Judy Truth has served on our board since 2004. Judy is a retired Ponca City Public Schools teacher and a Pohai grad. I'm not going to say the year, 1965. All right. She currently has several grandchildren still attending Ponca City Public Schools, too. Gracie and Jackson. And Judy is actively involved in their schooling and activities. Judy has been a board president 3 different times now. Currently, Judy is serving not only on our curriculum committee, but she also serves on the state board, our Oklahoma State School Board's Region 3 director. She represents not only the Ponca City Public Schools community at a local level, but the Ponca City Public School District on a statewide level. Currently, Judy's serving, as I said, the OSSB Region 3 director, and she holds a very prestigious leadership position in our state. She serves several different counties and several different school districts in Garfield, Grant, Kay, Noble, Pawnee, and Payne counties. So she's got a lot of schools, but not as cool as superintendents as me, but she has some great superintendents in that group. But Judy does bring the unique perspective to our board of a former educator, and she understands the teaching and learning process. She's a tireless supporter of our teachers and administrators in their pursuit to improve all aspects of student and learning in our district. So thank you, Judy. From Ward 4, I got to introduce Miss Anna Rowland last week at the Leadership Ponca City event at NOC Tonkwall, where she's currently employed as a grant project director. I'm going to not say your acronym right. How do I say it?
Native American Serving Non-Tribal Institutions.
Yeah, but you like
that's the title.
Oh yeah, so that's the thing. But she's also had a lot of success in securing a lot of grant funds for Northern Oklahoma College and the students that they serve. But before that, Anna was an instructor for Ponca City Public Schools and a Pohai graduate. Anna also has children in the school district and is an active member with her church. As the most current Board of Education chair, Anna faced re-election this year. Through her tireless efforts with serving on the PCPS Board of Education and her tireless time in dedicating and serving our students, she drew no opponent and therefore secured an additional 5 years of service on our board. I appreciate over these last 12 months personally working with Anna as the BOE chair and the last 6 months as being superintendent. Our meetings and discussions each month help make me a better leader, and I feel that I'm helping move the district forward after each of our conversations. I appreciate her perspective as a parent, as a higher education employee, and former teacher. Thank you, Anna. All right, from Ward 5, the man, the myth, Don Newsom, has served since I was in high school, 1999. That is impressive. The longest tenured board member of Ponca City Public Schools. Don's been the foundation in which our district turns to for guidance and input. Don is the current manager of the Ponca City Regional Airport, has been the president of the Ponca City Public Schools Board of Education 14 times. Don was recognized by the Oklahoma Secondary School Boards Association with their Platinum Excellence Award, which is designed to recognize the time and commitment made by board members in their education beyond the legal requirements. Don serves on our Board of Education Property and Finance Committees and helps guide our district spending and ensures we make good stewards of the taxpayers' funds. Over the years, Don has served on a number of nonprofit boards in our community, from the hospital to the chamber and everything in between. As we continue to work together in the best interest of our students, Don has been the foundation in which we have built this district. We appreciate your service, Don, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know many of you are paid to be here tonight, but I do think it's important though, that our community does recognize that this board provides countless number of hours, weathers countless number of storms, and has been a complete foundational bedrock for this community and how to lead with grace, prestige, and excellence. So We do appreciate it, and I hope we use this month to recognize the integral role that each of these members play in shaping the future of the youth in Ponca City. Thank you for your continued support and your friendship and our partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam, and I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say thank you for that recognition, not only this month, but all year long.
Oh, absolutely. And then you'll see each of the schools wanted to also show their appreciation for each of our board members. So I think our kids stepped up in a big way. You'll see stuff from elementary schools, middle schools, and various teachers across the district.
Thank you, guys. Item number 2 is the presentation of the Employee of the Month and the Friend of Education Awards. And it looks like we'll be starting it off with our Certified Employee of the Month, Ms. Wendy Landis, a science teacher at Hope High. You'll come up, please. Be recognized. Thank you, Wendy.
Oh, look at that. Thank you.
I'm really excited. I'm Shane Dent. I am really excited to be here with Ms. Landis. Since I started at the high school about 2.5 years ago, one of the first people I met was Wendy Landis, and she was immediately welcoming, she was positive, and nothing's changed in 2.5 years. Mr. Levitt and I said, hey, we've got this great idea about a student club we want you to start. Sure, I'm in. We got this time that we need to move all of our science classrooms to a different end of the building. Sure, we got this. And everything continues in that same attitude. She's positive, she's upbeat, she's a kid magnet. They love to be around her, and we really appreciate everything we do. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Moving on to our Support Employee of the Month is Dennis Malaska, a custodian at Liberty Elementary. Mr. Malaska.
Mr. Dennis, he is the epitome of Liberty Wildcats. He's been, how long have you been at Liberty?
Since 2012.
Sometimes you don't see him, he's always doing his job, he's here and there, but if you always call him, he always answers and he always takes care of whatever needs to be done, whether it's clean up a mess in the cafeteria or whatever. He just does whatever needs to be done to help the building, help those kids and the faculty and staff, and Liberty's a better place because of him, and we're grateful for him, so thank you again.
Thank you.
Our Friend of Education for January is Beverly Carter, a volunteer for Liberty Elementary.
Beverly works with our first grade, and she, a while back, she was working, I guess, 1 day a week for Mrs. Brown's class, just coming in working, and then it ended up being a couple days. And if you know Mrs. Brown, she has her structure, she has ways she wants things done, and Mrs. Brown said, just come as much as you want. And we see her in the building all the time. She works with kids, she does whatever needs to be done, and Mrs. Brown said that she always knows the right time and the right situation and how to handle kids, and being a former educator, correct? She's just carried that into her retired life, and our little ones are so much better for her, and we're just so appreciative of a volunteer and someone we feel is family in our building. So again,
thank you. And I wanted to say I appreciate Ms. Brown and Liberty hosting me as a volunteer. It's not an easy thing to do. Ms. Brown is really beyond awesome. I taught for about 19 years, and she, yeah, it's something to see. She runs not only her, manages her classroom, but an educational program. So it's beyond just teaching ABCs or 1, 2, 3. She's got a little system going on, and she teaches the students to the very last seconds of time. You can let her really.
and I promise you that is true.
That is true. Congratulations. Thank you.
If the three of you would like to meet in the hallway, we'll get a picture of you guys, and you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, if you like. but Adam,
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit, I was joining around the applause. Just a little bit of an update on what we talked about in committees earlier this week. There's nothing to vote on or decide, but wanted to talk to you about our open gate weapons detection system. This system was purchased in the fall in light of the Choctaw Middale incident, the school shooting at their football game, the first week 0 of the football season. Village 66 donated $25,000 for us to help us purchase that. The district matched the remaining funds to purchase those events. Those arrived, what was it, just about 2 or 3 weeks before break. And we brought them out just with the company officials here to show us how they get set up, and we had them deployed for a game, just for the JV portions. We would know how to turn them on and how they work and function, but we really didn't have a chance to talk to the community or the board about practices or procedures on how this would work. Current policy for Ponca City Public Schools forbids any possession of firearms or weapons on campus or at campus events. So we're talking about that. We really don't need a procedure, I don't think, as a district for these, because what we're trying to prevent is people bringing something that's already prohibited on campus from being on campus. We want to put these at controlled entry points to our events, namely at Robson and Solon's and other extracurricular events. They are portable. We have 4 of them, so we create 2 entrances that can be secured to do screening. We had talked internally of having a Ponca City Public Schools personnel stationed nearby overseeing the screening. This would not be the ticket salespeople. This would be either an administrator or coaches that would take an extra duty, which we already currently do. We already have that. That would oversee the screening process. If the screening is not passed, let's say someone walks through and the light buzzes or the thing beeps or something like that, then we would ask them to remove any large items that would be causing that. These are weapon detection systems, not metal detectors. So your keys won't set it off, your phones won't set it off. But if you have a large metal item, such as a lawn chair, we may ask to take the lawn chair and hold it for you while you go through again to be rescreened. If the screening is not passed again, we would offer either a secondary wand screening or bag search by the PCSP personnel that was overseeing the station. And we also would have private locations if that would be necessary for that individual. And the only time I can foresee that we would ever need law enforcement is if the individual refuses to either consent to be searched after a failed screening or failed to leave the premises if they would not procure or provide whatever item was setting off the screening. So we basically just want to prevent any weapons that could cause mass casualties to be in any of our school events. So we do have a policy in place currently that does offer exemptions for off-duty military, police, and uniformed officers, and we would like to begin using these open gate systems this month at all Robson and Solon events after we get this information put out in a press release and discuss it. But on the screening part, the whole thing, when we had it set up for just while the company was doing their informal training, it's not going to go off for eyeglasses or your belt, or people aren't going to take off their shoes or anything like that. It's not going to be as intrusive like an airport screening. This is to catch whether it's a large mass item, assault rifles, handguns, a large magazine, large capacity magazine, firearms that can come into an event. So again, really all we're trying to do is discourage any of that being brought to any of our events, and we would encourage people, if it was to go off, that they can go back to their car and put anything back that might have caused it to go off, or hand it to us to go through the detector again and be allowed admittance into an event. I put on there lawn chairs because if we had this set up like at softball or soccer or anything like that, where a large number of people bring their own chairs, baseball, whatever, that may set them off. So we'll just have to have a process set up where the PCPS employee takes the chair, or they set it to the side, walk through the building, and come back and grab their item. So it's not meant to be a big holdup. It's meant to just be very quick and fluid. A lot of schools across the state have these actually in their entrances for daily school. We're not to that point yet, but we do feel like it adds another layer to making sure that our events stay safe as possible for our students and for the public. Yeah.
Remind me, I know you said firearms, but what about pocket knives?
So pocket knives, it probably won't catch a pocket knife. It would catch a large knife. You bring in a machete or something, you know, a butcher knife, something like that. It's going to have a more mass to it. Again, these are supposed to prevent large casualties, or so if someone had a knife, that may actually get through inadvertently. But
But those aren't on the list for unlawful items.
they are forbidden items, any weapons like that. Yeah. So. The thing, and this is terrible, but you almost have to, it's how intrusive do you want these screenings to be on metal detectors, and what should be the aim of our district. We want to make sure we have the safest environments possible. A knife, I think in any of those events, can still have a propensity to cause a lot of violence, but can be intercepted probably faster before a much lower rate of damage than a firearm could. In that instance, so we're really trying to ensure that no guns and other large weapons that could cause lots of maiming or issues like that. I do want to make sure that I reiterate to the community and to this board that we do have uniformed police officers at our events for criminal activity, at all of our events, whether it's in our concert hall or Solon's or at Robson, or we have uniformed police for criminal activity. So this would just help us remove, add just a whole nother layer of protection, make sure that stuff doesn't get into our places.
You mentioned PCPS personnel.
Yes, sir.
Who are you planning on using for that?
Right now, we're talking about either Wildcat safety, discussing with possible coaches that we have an extra duty gate security where we have coaches that provide supervision of people as well. I'm hoping it's not a big and as intrusive deal as it should be. I think that we just have someone there that said that went off. Do you have something on you? Do you need to go back and take a photo back in your car? That it runs pretty smooth. The only time that we would ever need a uniformed officer is if the person says, I don't consent to go through that. Well, then you don't consent to go over it. And if they took issue to that and wanted to make it, then we'd have to ask them to leave. Now, we do have policy that does say that if the individual does not want to comply with district initiatives or directives or our safety, we can ban them for up to 6 months. And we already have all of these policies in place. This just adds another layer to ensure that those policies are being followed and enforced. Okay. Funding allocations, I wanted to let the community know we did receive our midterm adjustment. That's our state aid, where it increased about $262,000, which was about a 1.61% increase year over year. I credited a couple of things. One, that our student reporting, getting all the information that the registration for students that qualify for special programs, whether that's free and reduced lunch, gifted, whatever, that we did a great job of finding those students and making sure that they got coded the correct way in our registration system. And then also our enrollment just increased a little bit. We had a slight increase, so we'll see a little state aid appropriation increase there. We did receive our first Redbud allocation amount. We just got that last week. That amount is $173,109.50. That is about 50% of what we're anticipating from the state. The next deposit should come mid-June. Second week in June is what I looked at the last 3 years historically. It's come in. So they only gave us half of it. We receive that in the building fund. Districts can receive it in the general fund or building fund. I think the district would be better served to have that in the building fund, and I think we have a little bit more flexibility with what we can do. And the whole premise of the Redbud allocation, when you read the directive from the Oklahoma State Department of Education, was this money is to be used to acquire and improve school buildings. So that kind of makes it very clear that it should go into the building fund there. And schools do have flexibility in some instances if they needed to put those funds in the general fund. I think this district would be better served to put that in the building fund, honestly. And the whole purpose of the Redbud was to help equalize school districts across the state that may not have as large of enrollments or their weighted ADM did not meet some of the things to help kind of equalize what school districts across the state all received. So Ponca Cities was 173, Tonkwalls and Newkirk's actually are pretty darn close to that amount too. So the rural schools, this was kind of a negotiation deal at the end of the last session. where rural schools felt like they were taking a bigger hit with the tax credits being passed for education. So the legislatures made a deal to fund Red Bud at a higher rate for rural schools. I mean, rural schools were weighted a little heavier to get a little bit larger portion. So it just makes sense that in K County, that would be Tonkwall, Newkirk, in our county. So, but I'm not going to say no. $173,000, we darn sure could use it, and we'll make sure we're good stewards of that. We have a lot of projects that need attention, and this helps it go a little bit further. I do want to remind the community real fast on cold weather decisions. I know this board's probably heard it. I do this every weekend, the last probably 5 principal weekly emails. My memo's out, but since Callie's here, I'm going to tell him too, and the public here. We try to make our cold weather decisions, inclement weather, before 6 a.m. That's always been a goal of ours. The last 3 we've had to make have been before 5 a.m. and today we made ours early this afternoon to give parents as much time as possible to arrange whether they get kids to school, how they get kids to school, whatever. Extreme cold procedures, I'm really proud of our administrators. I tasked our secondary and elementary directors to come up with some early openings across the district at wind chill and temperatures below 0. How early can we get our buildings open to get kids in there? Because we know we have kids that run for shuttles. Parents have to just get their kids to school before getting to work. We have 7:30 procedures, but we have opened at 7 a.m. and we'll continue to open at 7 a.m. while the temperature's this way. And so this last Friday when we opened at 7, we had about 40 students district-wide take advantage of being there before 7:20, 7:30. So I pinged all the principals this morning, afternoon, how many students did you have to take advantage of that? And it came out about 40 across the community. So kudos to our parents on getting our kids to school at a reasonable time, and those that just can't do it, we want to make sure they have a warm place to be that's supervised. I put on there the National Weather Service in Norman. Jason and I are both subscribed to this listserv. I'm sure Dawn, you met in the airport probably as well. But they provide a great service to a lot of different government agencies across the state, schools. I think anyone really, if you have a weather interest, can subscribe to it. But they put on weekly, daily Zoom calls, especially if weather systems are coming in. They'll do one standing appointment on Mondays each week, but if there's a weather system moving in, they'll do them the day before, trying to give you the latest weather models so we can help be informed in our decision making. And I mean, our goal is we want our students in school, and it's not for funding. It's really so they have a warm place to go and somewhere to eat and some adults to care for them. Unfortunately, we have some students that's not the case. And I just have always been raised on we have a job to do. We're in the people business, and our business is to serve our community and those kids. And if we're not doing that because we're at home, then what are those kids getting? So I think our administrators have answered the bell, our teachers have, and it's been quite comical sometimes or fun on the community watch page. But I really think the community's really rallied behind that. It's a good thing to have school be open and serve our kids.
What time do we have, what time to start ramping the heat and air whenever?
So that's a great question. We do have controls on all our districts, and normally we kick them back at about 5:30 at night, and then we kick them back on at 5:30 in the morning. But while it's been this extreme cold, we've actually took those off to just try to keep the building maintained, because we didn't want to risk that it wouldn't catch up throughout the day, or we turn something off and then it freezes up overnight. So we've kept them off for the last maybe 5-6 days just to keep them going.
Who controls that now?
Our maintenance department, Tom Fisher, and we had an issue with some of the ones in the Anderson, the remodel had not had IP addresses assigned to them, so they weren't kicked on. So that Friday, the Anderson, or the Commons Retro was about 50 degrees, but they got it fixed, and before school was out, it was like 86. So they had to scale it back down. So it more than warmed up throughout the day. I think kids went from freezing to sweating in less than 5 hours. So those new units over in the Retro and Anderson are going to be real nice. And I've talked to this board and I've talked to our staff. If we have power and the roads and sidewalks are clear, we have to have school. If it's cold, we just have to have school. We need those kids in school on that. So we want to educate and inform the public to make plans where possible. I think it's a testament. People say, what about the walkers? Well, when we opened at 7 a.m., we only had 40 students district-wide out of 4,500 that showed up before 7:30. So if they are walking or being dropped off early, we have the buildings open and ready to go on that. So
I think it's important to note, I think it was 2012, 2013, whenever I first got on the board, for every snow day we had, Oklahoma City did not feed over 9,000 kids. There's over 9,000 kids went without a hot meal that day when we didn't have school. So it's critical that we have school if at all possible.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I want to let you know, I went to Walmart yesterday, and there was a lot of people in Walmart. So if it's too cold to go to school, it's too cold to go to Walmart. So. And not that I know how I make decisions, but you know, it factors. It factors, Judy.
You'll be the one
It factors. Upcoming key dates for this board, I want you to be apprised of. This week, legislative bill introduction, the final day that they can submit any bills to be considered for this upcoming legislative session is on the 18th at 4 p.m. our deadline. Next week, on the 23rd and 24th, Erica, Amy, and Delaney and I will be going to the legislative kickoff conference for COSA. We will be discussing education policy, hearing from COSA and OSSBA on statewide issues, on how to advocate for policy. But our elected officials and leaders have been invited to that. Also, it's a requirement for first-year superintendents, so I just have to go. But I thought it'd be powerful to bring a team so we could all start teaching them how to be advocates for public education. Growing, so I think it'll be a great opportunity for us. I'm going to be doing third quarter site evaluations at the end of this month, start of February. That's where we're going around hearing every school's data, looking at where we're doing, benchmarks, how our students are progressing, growing, just getting good feedback with our site principals. Then our legislative session starts February 5th, and that's funny because I also told Jason Love and Jason Oswald today that spring sports gets here, and I have a yearly calendar reminder on February 1st that says clean the grounds for spring sports. So I said there's tons of leaves that accumulate, and we'll just need to make sure that we get all that stuff taken care of, get our stadiums and track and all that ready to go for spring sports. So they were talking about what they were going to get done just this morning about it. So, and then I have a next superintendent's training in Oklahoma City on February 7th. I don't know what the agenda is on that. I haven't put it out yet. But what's interesting about this on the superintendent's training is if you saw our state superintendent had submitted a letter that stated that he was severing all ties or intends to sever all ties with OSSBA, COSA, and Oklahoma School, I can't remember, Oklahoma SPRC or something, I can't remember what the acronym stands for right now on that, but COSA and OSSBA were the big ones. Well, the State Department of Education contracted out to do superintendent's training through COSA and OSSBA, so that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm hoping all that still applies and works for the rest of this school year, because I really don't want to repeat all these mandatory classes on that. But I really don't know what the implications of that's going to be. A little history, back in the Sandy Garrett days when she was state superintendent, the State Department of Education did do all of it. They ran it all. Then when, I can't remember who was the next one after Sandy Garrett, they kind of transitioned to having COSA, having these other organizations handle school board training, handle your guys' conference, all your mandatory stuff that you all have to do as school board members, stuff that the administrators have to do. I think the pendulum's swinging back now to more control. I'm a little interested, if the reports are true, about staffing at the State Department of Education being as lackluster as it is, or as hard as it is to fill positions there, if they can get that done, because I think COSA and OSSBA do a great job providing good stuff for school board, local officials that run for school boards, principals, superintendents. I know there's a lot of curriculum stuff that comes out of those areas as well. So,
Does Walters have the stroke to make that happen?
oh yeah, absolutely.
He can do it?
Yeah. It's a contract with the State Department of Ed. Their board provides enters into an agreement with it. It'd be no different than this board saying we don't want to contract for professional development or teachers from this organization or that speaker or that group.
But the trainings themselves are based off of State Department guidelines and statutes and things that
Correct.
they pass along. It's nothing that COSO or OSS.
Yeah, so the first year superintendent's training that all the superintendents in the state will have to do, that's statute. We have to. We have to be trained on finance, we have to be trained on personnel, we have to be trained on government relations, all these
There's no
different
road
things.
trainings or anything that's.
And just like you guys have to be trained in ethics and finance and open meetings, those are all statutes.
Right.
You have to do that. It's up to them to determine how they want to provide those services.
See, that's when I heard that, I thought, we don't do anything wrong, it's all this is.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a new administration and leadership, and they decide what they want to do. So I have a lot of concerns because a lot of I feel like the stuff that we've really done in the last decade in common education has been really beneficial. The relationships that have been built. I think a lot of the things that happened in the last legislative session was directly because of OSSBA and COSA's advocacy for public education. We had the largest teacher pay raise. The funding bill was the largest in Oklahoma history. That doesn't happen without having good advocacy. So
A lot of support from parents.
a lot of support from parents, and I'm glad you brought that up, Anna, so that segues into my next slide. So we hosted Leadership Ponca City last week. This was our group. This was taken at MSC. I didn't realize as Leadership Ponca City that as superintendent I serve as day chair, so I planned the full day of events for these students. And Shelley Eric, you can see there, former superintendent, who's now the chamber CEO, kind of runs point for that group as the chaperone there. You can see some of those individuals. Our own Callie Lamar in there, he's one of this year's class. What class are you guys?
37.
37. So they're the second best class that's ever done this. We have Amy Swartz, our special services director. She's in this year's class, and Relo Adams, who's a counselor at the high school. Those would be your two Ponca City affiliates in this year's class. But we had a great day where we started out at Roosevelt Elementary, where they got to see a little bit of our Rise and Shine ceremony. Our beloved board member, Don Newsom, drives us around all day. How many years have you drove leadership classes, Don? You did it when I did it back in 28. I know that. How'd you how?
Since 92.
Oh my gosh. So you would vouch that there is the second best class ever, right?
Mine's the best.
Well, this is a great program. I think, Robin, you were in the first class, or did you turn down the first class? Turned it down. That's better than being the first class dropout.
That wouldn't have gone through.
I remember, I think one of my friends that was served as a board chair for me at the UC said he was the first Leadership Ponca City dropout. And that's not bragging. But we started out at Roosevelt, then we came down here to the administration building where we got to talk a little bit about how this district is run and organized, some of the pressing issues in education, how they can help be advocates. And then after that, we had a great opportunity to go tour the Anderson STEM building at the high school. They were blown away. I mean, it's not finished yet, but they are, it was buzzing. They're just chattering about all the opportunities and how neat a space that is. I cannot wait to have an open house and showcase that space and what that's going to do for our district. From there, we went to Pioneer. No, we didn't. We went to St. Mary's, and we heard from our private school providers in the community, St. Mary's, First Lutheran, and the Central Baptist Church, yes. They talked about their programs and what they provided as far as educational opportunities in the community. Then we went to Pioneer Tech, toured their facility, and heard from Tracy Thorpe and their leadership team. And then from there, went to NOC and met Miss Anna and their interim president and Watkins, Diana Watkins, yes. NOC president, interim president.
Shout out for that mural that's standing behind you guys there. Yaka Starfield's painted that mural in 2021, and then we also have a really large mural that was in the library too, so with a giant art collection by Hugh Pickens. So if you guys haven't got a chance to go over it.
Yeah, that's an incredible mural that we took this picture of. And, I'm just looking for blank walls across our district that we could put a big mural on. It'd be really cool. So privately funded, of course. We'll figure that part out. But I think it's anytime you can do some big mural artwork like that, that brings a lot of pride to your community and showcases it. The interesting thing, and I really wanted to highlight this, the whole reason I'm showing this is every session, as they wrap up the session, they have to go around and say a takeaway or an aha moment from every person that's in the group. And I wanted this board, one of our administrators to know, I would say maybe 75% of them were ahas about either excitement about the Anderson STEM, overwhelmed with the level of support that we try to provide for each and every one of the students that come through our doors. And then the rest of them were kind of talking here and there about Pioneer Tech and all the cool stuff that's happening out there. Which they do have some really cool stuff. But it was really exciting about how these individuals across our community were really charged up for what our teachers were doing at Roosevelt, what we talked about, how we serve kids, and what our goals are to try to get them ready to be functional adults, and how we try to love and care for each every one of them that walk through our doors and create some sort of magical moments for them. And it's just a real dynamic group. So we've already got the surveys back. I have not read those yet. I'm sure they thought that I rambled too much or told too many stories, and that's fine. We'll deal with that as we move forward. But I have really great ideas on how to make that more fun and engaging next year as well with leadership. So really appreciate this board supporting that and the community support and getting those individuals into our school system to see what kind of the magic that happens each and every day. So, thank you, board.
Thank you. All right, item 4 is the consent agenda. A motion is required for the approval of the consent agenda as printed or as amended. Board members may, however, call for a separate vote on any or all items listed on the consent agenda. We have item 1, minutes from the December 11th, 2023 board meeting, and item 2, contracts and agreements under $10,000.
Motion approved.
Okay, I think there was some discussion on an item on item 4 on the consent agenda
Correct.
that we might need to.
I would like a separate vote or discussion on item 4 from Davis Trees. And the reason for that, I think we're premature right now in picking Davis. Talking to Jason, there's still a lot of unanswered questions on size of trees, types of trees, etc. And I don't think delaying it one meeting or so will make a difference on that one. So we could either table it or take it off the agenda, whichever the board prefers to do on something like that. But the others I have no problem with.
I wouldn't even table it, because I think if we want to revisit the whole thing, and if we want to, I think we just take it off and then just kill
Strike
it.
item 4?
Yeah.
Let's just strike it.
Strike it.
Whichever. I don't,
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion is to approve item 1 and 2 with item 4 stricken from the
Yeah, I can do
consent
that.
agenda.
it's actually items 1 through 8, X minus 4. Item 4.
Okay.
You have a second on that one?
Judy was the second. Okay, and second, and Judy seconds with the amendment. Okay. All right. Any discussion or questions? Call for vote.
Nancy Zimmerstein. Aye. Judy Tripp. Aye. Don Nizam.
Aye.
Anna Roland.
Aye.
Robin Riley.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Item 5, action items. A motion is required for each of these. Item 1, we have considered taking action on following district financial reports. You can see them listed on the agenda there, A through N on the next page.
Motion approved.
Second. Motion by Don for approval, second by Robin. Any discussion or questions on items A through N? Call for the vote.
Judy Tripp. Robin Riley.
Aye.
Anna Roland.
Aye.
Nancy Zimmerstein. Don Nizam.
Aye.
Number 2, consider and take action to approve the construction manager recommendations report for the Howell office remodel from Rick Scott Construction. Jason Levitt's here to answer questions. The GMP is $1,499,831.60 coming from the bond fund 33. Is it okay, motion?
I'll make a motion.
Nancy's making the motion, second by Judy. Any discussion or questions on this one?
Yeah, I've got a question on it. It's my understanding that this is now not gonna be a summer project that we're gonna have to get into the school year to complete it. So I would like Jason to explain how much are the general conditions gonna go up, because it's gonna take Rick Scott Construction longer to complete it now than previously had planned on.
Jason, could you answer some question about the timeline and the anticipated costs related to that?
The assessment of the timeline has increased due to scope of work. The main office itself is needed early on, and what we don't want to do is we don't want to disrupt two separate school years. So if we can turn over that portion of the building towards the end of this school year, that way it has a better timeline throughout the summer months to finish this project. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to affect this school year and then start up the next school year where everybody's in limbo due to construction. Because at that same time, we will have the HVAC remodel going on for Fine Arts Building. The added general conditions is to set up temporary walls to get out of the hallway from where the students are passing, to keep it safe, and where there's going to be debris hauled in and out, it'll be more secure, allow the demo teams that access where there's no kinds of material falling on the floor. If it does, they're going to hire on extra cleaners for the daily process. So in between, just before bells ring, they'll come clean and make sure that the doors are locked and secure during the class time. So there's going to be some added scope with the temporary walls, extra manpower to maintain doors and keep the hallways clean for our students.
Okay, but the general conditions are 15%, and the general conditions include the supervisor, the trucks, the cell phones, the gasoline, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess my question, this delay is costing us how much extra on the 1.499 million?
It's costing us extra due to the longer schedule work.
Right.
How much is it in the general conditions, that 224,000, how much more?
The 1.499.
Yeah.
The general condition.
Yeah.
15%. How much of the, what was it, 244? I don't have the
Well, yeah, it's,
How much extra are we having to pay?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
That was my question, yeah.
I mean, is it 25,000, is it 120,000?
I think with the added months, because if they were to take over this project at the end of May, whenever school lets out, you're adding over a month and a half of work to this
Did they
project.
give you a dollar amount for those 6 weeks? Like, it's this much per 6 weeks?
We could probably break that down in construction tomorrow.
I mean,
But it's not any extra than what it is, what this is currently.
No, this would be the most,
No.
this is the
Yeah.
guaranteed maximum price.
right, it would be that, but it should be, if Rick Scott had held to the original agreement, it would be less than the 1.499.
Did we extend the timeframe on that, or did we?
Well, so yes and no, and I don't want to talk out both sides of my mouth, but the original plan when we passed this bond issue was to have, and I'm only going to speak on this because I was in that role earlier, so I'm sorry, Jason.
No, you're good.
I'll give you maybe some historical background. When we did the bond issue, we had originally thought we were going to move the counselors to the first floor, lower level of the Anderson. And so we anticipated having that space vacated for when it came time, the main office space vacated to have when it came time to do this project. Through the design and tours of other STEM spaces, we recognized that we could do a better project and a better service for the community, so we made the Anderson both floors of STEM and kept the counselors where they were, and we studied different locations on where the counselors could go in the high school. So that changed the scope of the whole project. We looked at doing it in the library, but the first estimated cost in the library came out way too high to fit in. I think just doing the library retrofit was 1.5 million, and that was the budget for the whole high school remodel of the main office. So then we looked at doing a north wing of the high school where the science classrooms are, but then we thought we'd lose some really great science classrooms if we put the counselors there and lab spaces, and that would run into it. So Jason, at that point I transitioned to superintendent, Jason took over, and then they looked at the current space that's identified in this would be what we use currently, prom closet and food bank, some different storage spaces on that first floor now. So to accommodate the counselors moving, instead of having half the office vacated, and we could, planning on just remodeling just that general space there, we added remodeling that whole space plus another spot at the high school. So it did add to the scope of the project on it. The timeline discussion was, do we start it right as the school starts and then not have an end in sight for when school comes back in August, or do we start it now in April and with the goal of having it done by August 1st with principals and add and come back? So I don't have a cost breakdown on what that added scope.
So we are looking at trying to do it by
We
April.
with Rick Scott, because it's my understanding it was late in the game that they said we can't make this date.
I think it was, I think it's whenever we did this change.
But I think they still agreed that they could still meet us, I thought.
I don't remember saying that, I just know that when we added this different scope for the
Moving the council.
moving counselors, that.
I did what they did, I mean, you guys were very, I wasn't hired then, but you guys were very transparent that you wanted that main office remodeled in a summer.
Yes.
And to do that, they had plans to having those counselors already gone, and then the Anderson would have opened. And the Anderson's supposed to be open now, I mean, it should be open now, but now that Anderson is gonna be all student space instead of some admin space and student space, that those counselors are kind of like hanging out there, that we've got to figure out a space to put them in. So we've added remodeling 2 classrooms and into counselors' offices.
And we're starting those spring, fall.
We'll be starting those right, if this is approved, right around April, I believe.
Yes.
So right after spring break.
Yeah,
Why
right.
can't we start it?
Well,
All right, all right, spring
we
break.
wait till April. If we're gonna have to do it during school year.
We'll have
We
to
have to
issue
move some stuff
contracts
still.
and.
Yeah, there's stuff still in there.
It shouldn't take, I've been in those 2 rooms. That shouldn't take that long to move it out.
They're on the first floor of the Howell, right? They're kind of on the east side of the Howell building.
I mean, if we change the scope, we should pay extra.
Yeah, we,
I don't have a problem.
I can understand, that's not a problem, I just hoping we can start it fall at spring break.
The Rick Scott is dragging their feet.
Well, we could push for spring break. I mean,
I mean,
I just worry about the thing, high school admin, they've had every year, the last 3 years, that building's been torn up at spring break.
I also think, isn't that HVAC?
I'm not laughing at it, Ryan, I'm
right
laughing to
after
stop
spring
from
break?
crying.
Yeah, the HVAC remodel of Fine Arts will happen, start during spring break.
Well, I mean, we do have a perfect storm projects right now, and one of our commitments to the community was these projects were gonna be done in 2024 if we pass this law. Or I said 90% of the projects would be done, because the indoor facility's gonna be hanging out there for.
Who's doing fine arts?
Kyler, I think.
Kylie Construction Group.
So we had the last of the federal funds that we wanted to expend before June 30th, and we get that done, we needed to hit spring break, so we just have a lot hidden right now, but when you've got, what do we have, about 40 million in active construction happening across this community, that's a lot.
There's a weekend there, they could have that place gutted.
Yeah, I mean,
Council
people move out today or
and then didn't want to have any kids around, when they could get stuff in and out really quick, and then they start putting it back together.
Yeah, we've already, Dr. Hawkins and we've already met with the high school admin on January 2nd. Today, I met with all of our people in the Fine Arts building about relocation. Great meeting, everybody is putting their heads together on how we're gonna get this done. So I'm very appreciative of that group effort, letting the professionals be professionals, making some choice decisions on that. The high school main office, I have talked to counselors, business office, just all staff on where we can locate them and let them be a part of this decision. Because what we want to do is we want to make it as seamless as possible. So we've got a great team up there they're willing to work around what we have.
But I guess the question is, why wait till April?
Well, we don't
How
have
to
to
do those 2 rooms?
We can,
Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think we need to start those 2 rooms again.
we just wanted to try, I mean, there's still an education happening at the high school. I mean, April's our big testing time and,
Yeah, I understand that.
well, I mean, we're just trying to work around everybody right now. We can look at it, we'll study it. If the board thinks we can, wants to try it and get a spring break, we can.
If we're gonna approve this tonight, we want it to start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Understood.
No one's asking the big question though, is this under budget?
Oh, it's already.
It's already-
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
You gotta do it for Callie though, he's here asking.
If we're still under budget, we could be under budget more.
Oh, yeah. Is it under budget?
Yes, Ms. Drew, it's under budget. Great job, operations.
That's a win.
A significant portion.
So Robin's question about
So
scope.
much that I want to buy the
Timeline
intercom
has been
system for the high
answered,
school.
and then,
Sorry.
as this Robin's question about scope and timeline, you feel like it's been answered?
Yeah, if we change the scope, I still, to be honest, question whether it's not when they do it, but nothing we can do about that.
And then, if you're gonna.
But I can't see, I can't see waiting till April.
No, I think we can start as soon as we can.
We'll look at that time.
If we're gonna have to mess with students, we're gonna mess with students.
Okay. Kansas.
I'd rather mess with it now than we mess with it next year.
Sorry. Oh, without a doubt, yeah, we want this, and I think we'll put I mean, if you walk into that entry of the high school, you see 5 different eras, I mean, 5 different surfaces. The plans that Jason and his team drawn up, I think will really enhance where our high school can in 6A. And be very clear, very clean, very sharp, so.
And to note, I mean, we got all the alternates still under budget. That's all the new millwork in as far as cabinetry, the teachers' mailboxes. It's gonna be a complete facelift to this site. Exciting.
All right, any other questions or discussion? I think we have a motion by Nancy with a second by Tricia. Yes. Other further questions or discussion? Call for the vote.
Anne Rowland,
Aye.
Robin Riley,
Aye.
Judy Truitt, Nancy Zimmershed, Don Newsom.
Aye.
Item 3, consider and take action on the following contracts and agreements. I'm going to read through them all and then we can vote on them. It's A through E. A quote from Big Tex Trailer World Incorporated for a trailer for the maintenance department. Total cost is $17,391 from the building fund. Item B, agreement with Carbon Black Security for antiviral software for the district. The total cost is $14,034.50 coming from volume 33. Item C, quote from Coriel Roofing and Construction Incorporated to complete repairs to areas of the high school. Total amount is $349,966.56 coming from the building fund. Item D, agreement with EF High School Exchange Year for 2024-2025 academic year for an exchange student, for a high school student from Germany. Item E, agreement with Soft Choice Microsoft Licensing, formerly SHI. Total amount of $42,315 from bond 34.
I make a motion to approve 3A through E.
Those moved for approval for items A through E.
Second.
Second by Robin. Any discussion or questions?
I do have a question on A. Are we buying that trailer under the school contract
I'm sorry, ask again?
on A?
Tell me the question again, I didn't hear.
Are we buying that under the school contract?
Okay.
Or we
Jason?
do it direct with Big Tex?
We are dealing direct with Big Tex, and I've talked to Jason, and he knows each time we reach out to these vendors to make sure that they're under state contract.
So it's less than the state contract?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion or questions? Call for the vote.
Don Newsom,
Aye.
Judy Truitt, Nancy Zimmershed, Anne Rowland,
Aye.
Robin Riley.
Aye.
Item 4, motion and vote to convene an executive session for the following purposes. To discuss the possible termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel in the attached detailed personnel report. To discuss the superintendent of schools contract. To discuss employment discussion? Decided by the board president that minutes of executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. Item 7, consider and take action on ratification renewal of the contract or new contract for the superintendent of schools.
I would like to make the following motion, that we pay the superintendent of schools a $6,000 stipend for basically the calendar year that just completed, and that we add 1 year to the contract, making it a 2-year contract effective July 1st of this year, and a salary of $160,000.
Okay, the motion's on the table.
Second.
Second by Don. Any discussion or questions? Call for the vote.
Robin Riley,
Aye.
Deanna Roland,
Aye.
Nancy Zimmershed. Aye. Judy Tripp,
Aye.
Don Newsom.
Item 8, consider and take action on recommendation for termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Dawn, second by Robin. Any discussion or questions? Call for the vote.
Deanna Roland,
Aye.
Robin Riley,
Aye.
Judy Tripp,
Aye.
Nancy Zimmershed.
Aye.
Don Newsom.
Aye.
Item 9, consider and take action on memorandum of understanding between Ponca City Association of Classroom Teachers and Ponca City Board of Education for a stipend for a tutor for the French language virtual students.
Move we accept item 9.
Robert's motion. I'll second. Second by Nancy. Discussion or questions? Call for the vote.
Robin Riley,
Aye.
Don Newsom.
Aye.
Nancy Zimmershed. Aye. Anna Roland,
Aye.
Judy Tripp.
Aye.
Any new business?
Motion adjourned.
Dawn's made a motion.